Thanks everybody for joining us today. Our webinar, Moving Beyond the Click. We want to help you dismantle the barriers keeping you from converting online leads to real world sales. We all certainly appreciate the inherent challenge of converting website visitors into customers, creating clicks, driving connections, following up, being available, and meeting them on their terms. It's a lot. It's made even more complicated when your intake is compromised by fraudulent interactions. What can you do to ensure a smooth transition from the very first click all the way through to a completed sale? Today, we're going to tackle some tactics to overcome the digital hurdles getting in the way of your marketing and sales goals. We're joined today by Anura's co-founder and CEO, Rich Kahn, and Melanie Bivens, Senior Manager of Enterprise Partnerships at Verse.ai. Thank you both for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
A little bit about our panelists. Rich Kahn, of course, is an innovator in fraud detection, a security expert in the digital marketing space, and has spent the last 3 decades leading the fight against the ever-growing $120 billion ad fraud problem. He continues that fight today as CEO and co-founder of Anura, and also is providing the platform for this discussion. Thank you for joining us in Dubai, Rich. We appreciate that.
Sounds good. Hopefully my internet connection holds out.
Hopefully. Rich is joined by Melanie Bivens, Senior Manager of Enterprise Partnerships at Verse. Melanie, an attorney by trade, has a diverse background in entrepreneurship and business ownership. In 2019, she joined Verse.ai and transitioned to involvement with teams focused on, you guessed it, AI technology, becoming an early adopter of utilizing AI and SMS tech to enhance the sales journey and customer experience. We appreciate you being with us today, Melanie.
Thanks, James. Thanks, Rich. I'm excited to be here.
So we'd love to hear from attendees throughout this conversation. We've opened the Q&A section of the webinar, so please drop any questions that you may have for either of our panelists. And as always, we will provide a recording of this webinar to all the registrants within the next few days. With that, why don't we go ahead and get started? And I thought maybe we could start with you, Melanie. Can you share with us how Verse uses human-assisted AI to help businesses better manage their customer experience and connect with consumers?
You bet. Verse is really a leader in bringing AI to consumer conversations. I think we all realize that every customer's journey is unique. It's shaped by their individual preferences, their behaviors, their experiences. And companies are looking to implement AI, but also to keep that really strong user experience. And I think that's where we kind of are best in class. We've been doing this for over 10 years. Our conversation platform is very robust. It does not feel like a bot. We never want it to feel like a bot. It really becomes an extension of an organization's team. We generally use the name Alex Parker. You may hear me refer to Alex Parker. Alex Parker now becomes a person that's on your team. You can change the name if you'd like. But it's the combination of the AI with the human touch. We've joked around here for years that tech plus human equals superhuman, right? And the AI is great and it's powerful and it's scalable and it's the wild, wild west right now. Everybody's trying to figure it out. But at the end of the day, I think equally as important is the consumer experience, meeting them on their terms. And so we do have a human touch here at Verse. We have a very robust concierge team that is watching those two-way conversations as they transpire. And what that results in is a very, like I said, non-bot experience. So we really like to have that balance between really robust AI, getting the most out of your AI platform, but also maintaining that exceptional customer experience.
Great. And I think, we've talked a little bit, or at least in the intro here, about converting URL to IRL, that whole thing. It's only possible when, of course, you're dealing with a real person at the other end of the inquiry. So, Rich, can you talk a little bit about how Anura's solution helps ensure that there are real people at the other end of the mouse?
Well, sure. So like I said, we kind of play at the top of the funnel where the visitor starts to interact with a web asset. So whether it's a website, mobile app, whatever. And our job is to help identify with extreme accuracy if the person is real or fake, because as you start flooding your funnel with fake people, which happens naturally from depending on where you're buying your traffic from. You start adding all these extra costs, all these extra additions to what you're doing. You're wasting time. We actually have several people that are allocating time to handle those people to find out that they're not real. And now they're taking away time on that schedule for real people to be interacting. So there's a lot of wasted stuff that could happen. So for us, the importance is to start at the top of the funnel, eliminate that from the start. This way, all your technology underneath is more efficient, and you're putting your money where you need to be. And you're also be able to take advantage of those human resources that you have available and be able to handle real people that are interested in your product.
And can both of you kind of elaborate on some of the barriers that you've seen from your clients or interactions that you had that are kind of preventing their business from converting from click to close in digital advertising specifically? Melanie, are there any kind of use cases or examples you can kind of walk us through how it helps with that?
Yeah. And that's why I think this partnership is so exciting to me for a lot of reasons. But, Rich and his organization sit at the very, very top of the funnel, and we really sit at the very bottom of the funnel, right? We're traditionally engagers and qualifiers leading to higher conversion rates. So I think the barriers, it's gotten tough, right? You've got to meet individuals. And we really saw this grow exponentially when COVID hit, right? Everybody was on a different time zone. Kids were at time whack. Kids were out of school. They weren't working traditional hours, and so it was really becomes, people always say speed to lead, but we really feel like it's speed to engagement and meeting those individuals as they come in to your funnel, getting in front of them very, very quickly, engaging them on their terms when they're ready to talk to you, and continue to stay in front of them until they are ready to have a conversation with you. I also think that, in terms of some other barriers, marketing and sales teams can be really siloed. I think marketing attribution is tough. And another thing that's very aligned with our organizations that I find really exciting is we're both very data-centric organizations. I think when you're going to bring in any kind of new tech, especially if you're going to experiment with AI potentially for the first time, you have to be making data-driven decisions. So one of those barriers is like, these leads are coming in, what am I getting out of them? And I'm sure we'll talk about compliance a little bit down the road here today. It's a hot topic, but every lead now needs to get the most juice squeezed out of it more than ever. So it's got to be about fast engagement, consistent engagement, an omni-channel approach. We're an SMS-based company. We do email as well. But to your point, it's about getting whatever the end result is. If the goal is to get that consumer on the phone with someone from the team and have a human to human conversation, then what's the most effective way to do that? And that's really about meeting them on their terms. If they come into the funnel at 5 o'clock in the evening and we engage with them, but they're not ready to talk until 3 a.m, maybe they work the night shift or whatever that works for them. That's when they're ready to buy their life insurance or get their refi or whatever it may be. We're going to be there to chat with them and continue to push them down. So I think, just summing it up in the barriers, it's about appropriate nurture. It's about getting the most juice you can from the fruit. It's about meeting the consumer on their terms, and really attacking that attribution piece and providing just exceptional and robust data to optimize.
And Rich, I know as Melanie mentioned, you guys are kind of closer to the top, the initial click on an ad. How important is that part of it, that filtering out the right leads for people to get? How important do you feel like that is to the end result when you get down into closing those leads? And what kind of impact do you see?
Well, it's a big important point. You really want to start off with clean traffic because good in, good out. And we're finding, like I said, on average, we talk about this all the time. We're finding on average 25% of all traffic is fraudulent. And it all depends on the channels where you're getting your traffic from. So if you're getting your traffic from certain channels, you might have a lower level of fraud, other channels much higher. So regardless of the channel you're buying from, you're making database decisions all along the way. So if traffic is coming in and it looks good, you tend to want to put more money there because it's performing, at least from the top line, it looks like it's performing. And you might be tracking down some layer of fraud and actually increasing the fraud because you're spending more on that type of traffic. We just had a client we're working with, and that we're looking at their back end numbers, and they were doing exactly that. They were like, well, this traffic is actually performing based on the initial metrics. It looks like it's performing well. So we're spending more money there. And you could actually see as the software running, you could actually see the fraud rate climbing because they were going after the fraud because the fraud looked really good. It quote unquote performed better. So as it performed better at the top of the funnel, they were investing more money there. So that becomes a problem. So again, just like we're talking here, Melanie was talking about making database decisions, the same thing. At the very top, you want to be making good decisions based on good data. Because if you're making good decisions based on bad data, you're going to get a bad result. So for us, it's making sure that once you start that buyer journey down your funnel, you want to make sure that the traffic is clean, it's real, and then you can apply all your other metrics because you'll be making good decisions based on good data.
And Melanie, can you talk a little bit about how your human-assisted AI tech can be applied, how specifically it's applied to help streamline the sales pipeline?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to start with the obvious, right? I've been in sales a long time. Salespeople want to be having valuable conversations. They want to be converting. They want to be bringing on new partners and clients. They don't want to be chasing leads, right? And chasing leads is a lot of work. You know, it's tough to do right, and it's tough to do efficiently, and it's tough to scale. So, you know, the AI can come in and take that off that team's plate, the sales and marketing, and even the ops team's plate right away, right? If you get instant engagement, and of course, we're big advocates of SMS here, and I very rarely have to try to convince someone the value of SMS in terms of engagement, right? We know that SMS gets almost 100% read rate, good, bad, or indifferent. We know that the dialer is tough, right? And people aren't answering their phones. I mean, it used to be if I was awake and my phone was ringing, I was answering it. And now if I don't know who's calling me, I'm certainly not answering my phone. I think that those strategies can still come into play. I think an omni-channel approach is important. I think email can be good in the right situation, but if you're sending me a random email to my Yahoo account that I started my fantasy football league in 1999, I'm probably not reading those emails, right? So we really get from the point that the lead comes in, we're doing that instant engagement, and that right there is the beginning of the streamlining process. And then we continue to stay in front of that individual, having a very robust conversation with them, very natural on their time. If they tell us they need some time, we hold off. If they say, oh my God, my dog got bit by a snake, and that's a real thing that I've seen a lot of crazy stuff, we're not going to say, okay, hey, what's your credit score? We're going to say, oh my gosh, that's horrible. I'll reach out to you tomorrow, right? So it's about streamlining it. And what comes with streamlining is not only making the sales team happy, right? I mean, your sales team is going to love this stuff because now they're just having warmed up great conversations. That goes without saying. But it's about mitigating some of those operational inefficiencies, right? Having the right person in the right seat. I talked to a gentleman yesterday, really nice guy out of New York. He's using a different SMS service. And I said, okay, well, how many folks do you have, kind of qualifying when those SMS come back in? He said 17. I said, I could probably get that down to 2, right? Because when you're using AI to do the things that can scale behind the scenes, that you don't need that human touch. And when I say human touch, that actual salesperson, now you're just driving conversations and you're closing. So again, mitigating operational inefficiency is a huge thing that we talk about over here, getting people in the right seat and saving folks some money.
And I know you mentioned, Melanie, at the beginning, the idea of consent and certainly the evolution of compliance. Do you guys want to each kind of talk about how your individual solutions sort of either address or maybe enhance a firm's ability to comply with, TCPA regulations? Or
Go ahead,
Sure.
Rich.
We'll hit this up because it's a very hot topic, obviously. And one of the things that we're seeing, because we do heavily play in the lead gen space, so people filling out forms, and probably some of the most advanced tactics that we're seeing is one of two things. Typically, a human fraud form comes in because they don't look like, if you're recording the screen, it doesn't look like a bot. If you put up a CAPTCHA, they go right past it because they're human. And then they fill out that form using James's information, right? They've got his information that they've stolen off the internet. They've got his phone number, his email address. They fill out the form, check the little checkbox to say, yes, you have TCPA compliance, call me, hit go. And next thing you know, James is now getting a call that he did not authorize or he did not give expressed written consent for. So you as much as you think you have consent for that call, you absolutely do not. And if it came down to a legal situation, it can easily be proven that James did not have access to that IP address and the user agent and the other things that were going on at the time to forensically prove that that wasn't him, that he didn't fill out that form. I am helping a client in a lawsuit prove actually the opposite of that. So we had somebody claim that they didn't fill out the form, and based on our data, we said they did. So we then requested the IP address ownership from Verizon because it was connected from a residential cable modem. And Verizon backed up the situation, gave us the name, the address, and everything else, which matched that of the form. We confirmed that everything was legit. So that those two pieces of information, basically, that person, somebody at that house filled out that form with that information. So lawsuit goes away. So having good data up front really helps with compliance, making sure, and again, I'm going to be talking at the top of the funnel. Melanie, you can talk about the bottom once it gets down to you. But it's, again, if you call somebody that a fraudster filled out or a bot filled out that form, you do not have consent. No matter what you think you have in place, no matter what you're trying to accomplish, you absolutely don't have consent. So you want to make sure those are clear out of the gate. Plus, they're not going to truly convert, right? Because James didn't fill out the form. James has no interest in, I don't know, solar panels. He has no interest in that.
Right.
So you're not going to convert those. If it's an insurance offer or something that's available to a lot of people, then, I actually did this with a client. We looked at all the stuff that we marked as bad, and they had a little less than 1% conversion rate, where they normally have a 20% conversion rate. And they were able to see what was going on. And we did a 1,000,000 lead test. So 250,000 leads had a less than 1% conversion rate, which is the stuff that we identified as bad. And I told the person,
Wow.
I worked my way through college telemarketing. I could do a better job telemarketing, because all you're doing right now is telemarketing. You're just calling people out of the blue, asking for the information. Meanwhile, those 250,000 leads that they called were all TCPA violations. So again, you do not have consent if fraud's involved. So eliminate fraud out of the gate. It's cheap enough to do it. Just get rid of it, and now you can start looking at the actual data, pass it on down the channel. Now that's when Melanie gets involved.
Yeah, it is definitely a hot topic. And I think, especially, on the front lines of what I do every day, I just be frank, I think people are sort of afraid of SMS. I think they realize that it's a cool strategy. I mean, everyone, you're looking at your phone. I can see it with my screen background, but I mean, you're looking at your phone, 90 times a day, they say 85 times a day. And if you get a text, you're looking at it. You may report it as junk, you may leave it alone, you may say whatever you're going to say, but you're looking at it. So I think that organizations realize the value of using SMS as an engagement strategy, or just really as any type of communication strategy within their organization. There's a lot of different use cases, but you have to do it right. And here's the thing: like, it used to be the conversation was always around TCPA and mini TCPA. Those would be the conversations that I had. The conversations that I have today, and those things are very important, is they're more around deliverability. The carrier deliverability piece, the three main carriers, T-Mobile, AT&T, and Verizon, is extremely arduous right now. And people ask me sometimes, who's your biggest competitors? And I'm like, there's a lot of great companies out there that do stuff similar to what we do. But really, my biggest competitor is an organization a large organization that wants to build this in-house. And I'll tell you, that is a very challenging and daunting task to do because of this compliance piece. We have, and I'm just not tooting our own horn, it's just a huge part of our business. We have an extremely robust compliance team that is only committed to deliverability. And if you could see what goes on behind the scenes to making sure that those deliverability rates are high, it can come down to one word that's flagged. It can come down to one number that's burned. It can come down to, there's just so many things to look at in terms of scripting with the AI and things like that. So SMS is a incredibly powerful tool, but it has to be done right. And again, that's why I love this partnership. I just have to reiterate, because everything that Rich is saying is at the top is everything that impacts the bottom anyway, right? Like, if I've got someone giving me, a bunch of numbers I want to send text to, and 25% of them are fraudulent, we've got a huge problem regardless right there, that we're going to have some serious deliverability issues. So the problem just, it just extends right down. It's just like the funnel's the perfect thing, right? Floats right through. So those are the things that we work on over here. And those are the things that I think kind of set us apart as best in class is we take on that for our partners. We're really a managed service. So we're going to take all that on, make sure you're compliant, work to get all the 10-digit long codes, make sure we're using the right numbers, and constantly optimize. That's the importance of the data, right, Rich? Like you're constantly looking to optimize. So.
Yeah, data is super important for both our worlds. I mean,
Yeah.
but we live in a data-driven world, and that's what we live and die by that. Like we've been collecting data for the last almost 20 years now. That's 19 years we've been collecting data and analyzing data. You talk about, your biggest competitor is somebody trying to build it in-house. And when you start looking at, I'm a developer, or I was in a past life, I should say. I haven't developed code probably in the last 5 or 6 years. I'm still consider myself a developer since I started when I was 9. But whether you build it or you buy it is always that big thing. And companies think it's cheaper to build it themselves. And depending on the software, sometimes it can be done, but how many conversations have you analyzed since the start of the company? Millions, if not billions, maybe, of conversations that you have been able to improve. Because again, AI is only as good as its teacher, right? It's got to learn, but it's just like a child. It's only as good as the teacher. So if you teach it well, it will learn better and get better. And like I said, and data is going to be your proof of point, right? So you have something that a new client that's going to build their own doesn't have: data, analysis, stuff that you've been able to tweak, like stuff like, oh my God, this is so small, but you know what? We want to do right by our clients. We're going to fix this little thing here, little thing there. Next thing you know, you get the system that's perfected. And we're in the same boat. We have people that I want to build my own system. Great. But you haven't analyzed trillions of visitors over 20 years. You haven't seen what I've seen. It's going to take time to do that. And I sat down with somebody and I said, oh, well, how many people are you going to have, on this? Is it going to be part-time? Is it full-time? No, I'm going to hire 3 people full-time. And then, okay, where's the data warehouse? You're going to have the data warehouse, all your data, collect it, manage it, build an ML around it, build some AI around it, depending on what technology you're going to use. And what's that all going to cost you? And I go, we're going to cost you less than one of those resources. I mean, it's just, and then you're going to get access to not just your data, but access to all the data that we see across all of our clients. That gives us the ability to make changes that you can't see on your own, just like you guys. You're seeing conversations like, okay, my dog got bit by a snake. The last thing you want is to respond back with, you still haven't given me your social security number. I need that.
Right.
Like, again, that tips your hat that you're now a bot, right? You want to be human. So, but you've had those conversations. You've seen stuff that somebody starting new is not going to see for years because they just don't have the volume of data that you guys have access to, and the experience that your team has put into this product, and they're going to probably be able to license it from you less than it would cost to build. So again, companies these days, companies these days are only as good as their tech stack, right? Whether it's tech that they're building in-house, depending on what the type of tech it is, or the type of tech that they're plugging into their platform. So like I said, there's no company out there that's a Swiss Army knife, right? That has all the tech that you can ever want in one platform. It just doesn't exist, because a product like yours or a product like mine takes years to perfect, to get it to be where it is today. And it's a full-time business. You've got teams of people over there that are working on perfecting the product. You got salespeople that are working with clients. You've got CSMs that are working with clients to make sure, oh my God, a conversation came through that didn't make sense, that got passed. Let's fix that. Like, that all takes time and money and effort that you're just not going to get when you build it yourself. Not quickly.
Not quickly.
Yeah.
So
when there is a partnership that you start with a new client, Melanie, how do you guys kind of make sure interacting doesn't create additional complexity, and that there's, that it is an easy lift for new clients when they come on board?
I love this question because it makes it really fun for me to answer being here at Verse. So that's something we really pride ourselves on. I've owned businesses in the past myself. I brought on tech in the past. And I think one of the most deflating feelings, right, is if you say you're going to bring something in, you go through this incredible onboarding process. Sometimes it can say, the salesperson tells you it's going to take a month. It ends up taking 7 months. You're using the tech at 40% of its capacity. Everybody's frustrated. There's not adoption, things like that. So a lot of things can go south when you're building your tech stack. Over here at Verse, we really, again, to reiterate, we're a fully managed service. So I can have a client live in 4 weeks. It used to be 2 weeks. And I mean, that's accounting for them kind of missing a couple meetings and not staying up on stuff. Used to be a couple weeks, but now we really work, in this deliverability piece, this carrier compliance piece is so it's just critical, right? I mean, if Verizon shuts you down and says you can only send, 1,000 text messages a month, then Verizon just shut you down. Like that's just how it is. So, for us being a fully managed service, we handle the majority of the integration. We integrate with everything. We've got the script writers that are using, OpenAI, running multiple campaigns within a single campaign to see which verbiage is getting the most traction. You get a client success manager who literally you can set up a Slack channel with, or a Microsoft Teams channel with, or, we're not on a ticketing system. If you want to talk to that person and make changes, they're going to be, there for you. So, it's a very different type of software. I mean, we're definitely a SaaS platform, but we're very collaborative in that sense. And I think that's a huge differentiator. And people that get that really get that. They're like, wow, okay, I get it. You guys are going to take it on. Literally don't have to have a team here. And to Rich's point, which I thought is just such an awesome point, is that data, like we are using it internally, just like Rich's organization, just like Anura's using it to combine with all our different accounts, right? I mean, we do a lot in the banking and mortgage space. So now we're not just looking at, ABC Bank, we're looking at whatever every other organization is doing to get optimized and get maximum deliverability as well. So we kind of become that entire arm of the business.
And Rich, I know we've talked before about when you guys integrate and onboard new clients. Do you want to talk a little bit about what that process looks like? And
Sure. Yeah, for us, again, we're a SaaS platform, but we're hands-on SaaS platform. So we have our CSM team and we have a technical sales engineering team. So depending on the resource you need, like if you need contract changes, if you need little things here and there, handled by CSM, taken care of, not a problem. But when you need technical support, like I need to get this integrated, we spend a lot of time working on our integration so that depending on the platform that they're in, integration is quick and simple. One of our best integrations, we just rolled out version 2 of our Google Tag Manager integration. So I would say 70 to 80% of the clients we come across are using Google Tag Manager. We're in the process right now of signing up one of the largest digital marketing advertising agencies with thousands of clients. And it's a requirement for them that all their clients use Google Tag Manager. So if they need to put in tracking code and this, that, and the other thing, they can pop in and out. But once we sign the deal and do the integration, they're going to roll it across every client. And it's going to be done through Google Tag Manager. It takes 2 minutes to deploy through Google Tag Manager. So because so many people use it, we wanted to build an integration that can accomplish anything that they want to get accomplished inside the code and makes it really simple. So, but then you're going to have people that, don't use Google Tag Manager, that need custom integrations, that want to do some weird things. So we have all of our technical sales engineers trained up on writing JavaScript code. So they'll actually write the code, put it together, give it to them to deploy. Every once in a while, we get a complaint from a client. Why don't we deploy it for them? So, unfortunately, there are some things that the client has to do themselves. But again, once they deploy, because we don't want to ask them for access into their web server, because we don't ever want to be, in a
Right.
situation where we, prove our innocence, that we did something wrong. So we give them the code, say this is where it goes, pop it in. As soon as it's in, call us back, email us, put a support ticket in. We'll double check to make sure it's integrated correctly, it's pulling the data correctly. We'll even jump on a call to review the integration, because once we're integrated, that's when the stuff that's when the real stuff has it. Our stuff integrates real simple because it's a simple tag. That's very powerful, very easy to design what you want to do, but it's very simple. But how you use that tag and what you can do with it once it's in there. So I have people that say, yeah, I want all the traffic to flow through. I just want it tagged somewhere on our CRM so we know what it is, and then we'll make CRM decisions down the road. I've got other people, and that's usually when we first bring them on. They just want to see what they're catching. Then they want to do some more real-time stuff. I want to divert this person over here. I want to block this person from filling out a form. All kinds of stuff come up. And we're there. We make sure we have hands-on with them to make sure it gets done correctly, because with any SaaS product, integration is everything. If it doesn't get integrated correctly, the client gets frustrated and then they just cancel. And you don't want that. But if they integrate correctly, now they're going to see the value of your software. They're not going to quit on you. They're going to see the value of the software. They're going to see how much further they're defending. They're going to see what the software is going to be able to do for them. And then they're happy to use you. But that integration phase for us, when we first started back in 2017, the first few clients we brought on, there was a technical challenges because we didn't have those support people. It was pretty much me, and I don't write JavaScript. So I would be able to talk them through it and tell them what had to get done. And then if I really needed to write the code, I go to my team and say, hey, write me some code real quick. And I'll get it over to the client. But what we thought is as we started growing, this would be nice to keep off the main developers and have technical support, technical sales engineers that can actually write code and solve technical problems, so it doesn't have to go to engineering. And makes a world of a difference when the clients get support like that, or they put in a ticket and 10 minutes later they're getting a call back with an answer. It's super important. I mean, I can't, if you call a lot of companies these days, support is lost. I mean, I'm not talking about SaaS. I'm talking about anything. You have any product or service you need support on, call Verizon. Tell me you got a problem with your
No, don't talk about Verizon. That's my nemesis.
and I'll tell you this,
It's
not for
horrible.
nothing. And I know a different situation, but we have a Verizon Fios for internet service in our office. It's phenomenal.
Okay, gotcha.
Gigabit internet. So we're not talking about the phone side, we're talking about the internet, the data side.
Yeah.
Gigabit internet, it's phenomenal. It's inexpensive. I mean, I think we pay like $300 a month and we get a gigabit of internet. I mean, I can't imagine that much internet, but we have it. And we were switching over routers and they wanted to change the IP address. And I'm like, okay, because we use the IP address for certain things and whatnot. I said, okay. I said, well, how do we keep the IP address? Oh, you just got to call support. No, they'll switch it back over to you because we have it locked to you. I'm like, you call. I'm not calling you out. I said, when Verizon is up for that product, for that service, it's great. But when you have support, they're not the person you want to be on support with. So I had the engineers like, oh, we'll call. We have a back end channel. They were
You're a
there
smart
for
man, Ray.
They were there for
I'm
another
learning a
4
lot.
hours. They were there for 4
I'm the
hours.
idiot that's on the chat bot with my cell phone stuff, and I'm looking at my bill and how much I pay those guys every month. Anyway, let's not pick on Verizon anymore.
No. Like I said,
Just
all these different
piggybacking on that too. The integration, just to reiterate what you were saying, is it is everything, because we over here, we don't want a bunch of manual stuff. We don't want you having to sign into Verse and then sign into Salesforce, and it's all got to be seamless, right? Like when a lead gets qualified, every status has to change. Everything has to be in there. It has to be immediate. Otherwise, you're not enjoying the value of the platform. You're not getting the robust nature of the platform. So I just want to piggyback on that. It's critical. Our integration team is amazing. I don't know if any of them will ever watch this, but you guys are amazing. So,
and that's, like I said, that's super important in any product, is to have good
Yeah.
support. Because if everything's done right, support doesn't get called that often, but when they do get called, they need to be, on the phone.
Yep.
They get it right away and they got to know what they're doing. Like I said, we talk about this all the time, like flowers. I order flowers every now and again, and it's like every once in a while they come and they're just, not what they sold you on the site. So now you got to get support. And it's like, it takes 2 weeks to get that result.
Yeah.
It's like just not worth it. From now on, I'm just not going to buy from you. I want a company where I can pick up, whether it's, like I said, some type of chat system where I can talk to somebody real, right? Find out what I need and get me a real person that's going to solve the problem, right? Because I don't think the AI is quite there yet, not for those companies. But I don't have a problem with the initial AI taking like the intake so they can route me to the right person.
Right.
Just when you get me to that right person, make sure they can solve the problem. But everything like, furniture purchases, car purchases, like support has literally gone down the tube. Nobody wants, I mean, half the time you can't even find a phone number or an email address. They want to put an intake form, and then you got to wait 2 weeks for somebody to get back to you. And that's not, as a consumer, that's something I want. I want to be able to, if I'm buying a software, I'm buying a piece of whatever, I want to be able to pick up the phone, call somebody, or email somebody, get a response the same day. Like in this day and age, if I email a support and I get a response the same day, I'm blown away. I'm like, wow, same day response. That's awesome. You don't see that a lot, and that's lost. I don't know why.
No, you don't.
I don't know why.
So I think there's certainly a cultural connotation around AI, right? I mean, there's, all the way back to Terminator, right? We're all not sure,
A
terrified.
great
It is
movie.
coming.
Should we be terrified of it? Should we be embracing it? What are some of the misconceptions, Melanie, that you run into when you're either talking to, companies that haven't had a chance to engage with AI yet, or just maybe mishandled it their first time around? What
Yeah.
sort of misconceptions do you guys run into?
Um, well, I think the first thing that I've realized that nobody really knows what they're talking about, right? There's going to be a lot of people out there that are going to tell you, this and that, and the next thing. AI right now for the average business owner, or even I'm not even talking SMB, at an enterprise level, is the wild, wild west. So everybody's eager to learn about it, and I think everyone's eager to implement it, but a lot of folks don't understand it. They think ChatGPT is AI, right? That's it. You put something in, it spits something out. So it's and the cool thing is you don't have to know that much about it, but what you have to have is a plan. You have to know what your end result is. What do you want? What is the pain point in your organization that you're trying to solve for? Don't try to boil the ocean. You're not going to say, okay, oh my God, we're going to AI on everything, right? But I hate to be self-serving, but like say your problem is you realize that your engagement rates are really low, like the dialer's not working, the email blasts aren't working. I've got people sitting around doing nothing but calling people all day. That's not smart. We know people don't answer their phones. How could I bring AI into that piece? That's obviously what I do, right? But it doesn't have it. It's immaterial what the piece is, but if the organization, is bleeding somewhere or knows that it can have a lift somewhere, AI can be an incredible tool. But I get people that ask me this all the time. I know SMS is great. I know AI is great. I have to have it. I say, why? Why do you have to have it? What's the plan around it? What's the plan around implementing it? I know what I'm going to bring to the table. We've covered that in the managed piece, and I'm going to hold your hand and we're going to make it easy for you. But at the end of the day, what's your goal? So I think, AI is it's incredible. And I've got two, and Rich's got kids too, like my kids are in their 20s and I'm just like, or my early 20s. I'm like, what is this even going to look like, when they're my age or whatever, right? Like, we joke about the Terminator. We thought that was, just a bit crazy, right? And so I don't know what it's going to look like, but what I know right now for the type of businesses that I talk to, and I talk to very sophisticated businesses sometimes that I'm really and a bit shocked that they come in and they haven't really thought about the use case. It's more, we've got to have AI. If we don't have AI, we're behind, which very well may be true. Okay. I don't think it's anything to be afraid of, but you have to first figure out what the end result is and back it into it. AI is made generally in my world, AI is an automation piece. It's a scaling piece. It's to take less of those human resources. It's to, like I said earlier, create greater operational efficiency, greater ROI. We're talking about the funnel today. So what are we going to get? How do we get the most out of the funnel, right? Squeeze the lemon, get it all out. How are we going to get the most out of those marketing dollars? But I think that's the first step, is to number one, not be afraid of AI, not try to understand everything that's going on in AI, because unless that's your passion and that's something that, you want to just study nonstop, it's fascinating to you. But I think most of the folks I talk to, that are decision makers in large organizations, they know they want it. They don't really understand it. And they need to be consulted with that. And in order to have that conversation, you can't have a conversation about bringing it in across the entire organization. This is my opinion. I think the conversation has to be, where are you feeling pain? What could AI do to support that? And how is the AI going to work in conjunction with that human experience that we've been talking about throughout this conversation, right? We still want to have, for the most part, unless we're Verizon, of course, we want to have a robust user experience, right? We want to scale it, and we want to meet people where they're at, and so that they have an incredible customer journey. So those are my thoughts, and it's constantly evolving. The conversations that I had 3 months ago are different than the conversations I'll have 6 months from now, I'm sure.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of blockchain, machine learning. Like, those were the things that were hot 2 and 3 years ago, and now it's evolved into AI. But I think all those things, Rich, I know machine learning is a big part of what you guys do. Like, this stuff has to be integrated as you go along, so that you can not just satisfy the curiosity of a customer, but you can actually use these tools to kind of enhance your own offerings, right?
We've actually played with AI and early on. probably 4 or 5 years. I mean, it's the buzzword for 2023 and 2024, but I mean, AI has been around for years, right? It's been used for, it just ChatGPT made it more on the scene, like, oh my God, I ask it a question and it gives me some content.
Right.
Like, okay, that's one use of it. We used AI and machine learning there are nuances between the two, but they're one and the same. They're similar, right? Similar technologies. We built for us again, because we've been building this since 2005. Early on, we had built some machine learning as an alert system to our developers to identify new threats, because it can sift, and we used it for, it can sift through, billions of records and in real time and give us some data signals that, okay, something new's popped up on the scene. And because it's something that has to get figured out and built and thought of, we haven't gone so far as to have AI kind of craft that for us. So we still rely on our engineering team to understand, okay, what did the machine learning find? Is it something that is acceptable, not acceptable? What do we have to roll out? And again, it's picking up a couple different signals a week on all the billions of people that we're scanning. And we're making adjustments using humans to actually make the adjustments and changes to our system. And probably because we just don't trust it, we like the process that we've built over the last 20 years. It's proven success. And the machine learning is great because it's just in charge of giving us, insight as to where the stuff is popping up, just because it can sift through all that data so quick. Once we get that data in-house, we're able to make some adjustments and move forward with, new updates that we need. That's where we're seeing it. Down the road, one thing that we're watching is AI is being used to write bots for people to try to get around systems like us. So that becomes more of a concern. Like right now, if you go into the dark web and do a search for fraud GPT, it'll write you a bot. And you have to know how to deploy it still, but at the end of the day, it's writing, it'll do the heavy lifting of what you're having issues with. Hey, I'm trying, and it's only going to get smarter as more and more people write bots in it, because of course that data is shared in the model, and the model's going to get better. And these are the kinds of things that advertisers need to watch out for, because it's a $120 billion market as of last year. That's a lot of money for, somebody who's looking to perform. Well, they're not illegal, well, not yet, but to perform those type of activities and make that kind of money. So it becomes very enticing. And it's one of those things that you just got to watch out for. AI is coming to hurt on that side. As much as, a lot of companies are using it for good, there are a lot of people that are going to be using it for bad. So you got to watch it. I'm sure you come across that too, Melanie.
Yep. Yeah, it's fascinating. I love working in this space. I learn something new every day, and our product team is, I mean, those are the guys that are in the weeds, but they're sharing just, iterations of our platform that are changing like on a weekly or a monthly basis. It used to be the big deal was, if somebody responded, say in a mortgage scenario, like what's your, desired price point? And they said, 5 to 7. We, 4 years ago, we couldn't figure out what that meant, 5 to 7, 5 to 7. Now it's like, oh, 500,000 to 700,000. Things as simple as that, right? Like that just continue to get smarter and smarter. So yeah, it's fascinating. Kind of hurts my head sometimes, but
That's good though, right?
so I'm not an engineer.
You have a legal background.
Yeah, don't you? Yeah.
I do. Don't hold it against me though.
No. Let me explain something. And I say this all the time. A good developer would make a good lawyer, and a good lawyer would make a good developer. You both work in logic, but you just work in different languages.
Fair.
Because let's face
Was
it,
always very good at math.
Well, think about it. In law, your job is to figure out how to protect or get around something.
Yep.
Same thing. Programmer is the same thing. Is try to do something or get around something. It's trying to solve a problem. It's just two different languages.
Maybe it's not too late for another career change. I don't know.
Next AI writer.
There we go.
Well, we are coming up on almost 47 minutes here. So, and I know, Rich, you are at Affiliate, which one? I'm sorry, which conference?
Affiliate World in Dubai.
Affiliate World. That's it. Affiliate World in Dubai.
Feel honored. You're like, all the way halfway around the world.
Got to be close to
Well, it was a last minute decision, and then And after I did it, I'm like, oh shoot, I gotta look at my schedule. So it was
I know
booked first, work with the
my
schedule.
marketing team was like, Rich is on a plane to Dubai. Did you pre-record that? I'm like, not to my knowledge. I wasn't there if they did.
Live from Dubai. So
This is Rich AI.
that's right.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I like it.
Thank you again for joining us today. And thank you to Melanie and Rich for taking time out to have this robust conversation. We appreciate it. We will provide a recording of this session to our attendees. On your way out, we'd love to hear any feedback. We do have a short survey as you exit, if you wouldn't mind answering that. And then, of course, if you want further information on services provided by Anura, you can find Rich Kahn at Anura.io, and you can learn more about Melanie and Verse.ai at Verse.ai. So thank you both for joining us, and thank you to all of our attendees. We will see you on next month's Anura webinar.
Thank you.
Awesome. Hey, thanks, Rich. Have a great trip. And James, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Say hi to Beth.